So I've recently watched parts of Saber's videos on Plague Steve, which was about a year ago, and now I want to talk about if Plague Steve's actually good or evil. So things were just going just fine with him. Saber had found Plague Steve after losing Rainbow Steve to Infinity Steve, who had taken over the Rainbow Town. They had just become friends with him when finding out that Plague Steve could in fact infect Infinity Steve and bring back Rainbow Steve to life. So they did just that. Plague Steve has already done so much for just barely meeting them a few days ago, and without getting anything in return for helping them. Infinity Steve was at last killed, leaving them to clean up the Rainbow Town. Plague Steve then had to do another thing helping them. He gave Rainbow Steve a username. After doing so much, I think he was tired of helping them and being nice, that he started drifting away to relax and get to go back to his own personal life as a Steve. It was very bad timing just then for Saber just to find out about the prophecy. It states, "He will ensure no one can leave, unknown to those who trust the Steve that is wisest. Do not trust him. He is going to betray you. Leave now." Inside the chest at the center of those signs, it had a book. The book, which had stated, "A prophecy lies ahead. Although he is kind, he is wise and evil instead. Stay alert and make sure where you go is a stable path, or once your nightmare is over, another one will start. Do not trust him." Just about then, almost every person commented that it was talking about Plague Steve. But what if it was talking about a different Steve not introduced yet? One in the future like Elemental Steve. Elemental Steve fit the prophecy pretty well, and he did betray them. When they hurried and got back from the catacombs, Plague Steve had built a shrine. But this shrine was probably for Plague Steve to gain his power back from helping them, unaware that it actually made Rainbow Steve act differently. And after he built this shrine, watching Saber tear it down mercilessly, he helped them repair the Rainbow Town. That's on Rainbow Steve's channel. You can't see on this one. Now, after doing so much for Saber, Lucas and Rainbow Steve, without getting anything in return except friendship and probably staying at the Rainbow Town, he probably was weak or wanted something to make him feel more at home. That's why he built more shrines. Plague Steve didn't realize that it was infecting Rainbow Steve, making him act differently. He thought it was normal for Rainbow Steve to be nice to him, especially for bringing him back. The next video was Saber thinking he was betrayed by Plague Steve because because Rainbow Steve was infected and acting weird. But the real fact is that since Plague Steve was a plague, when he brought Rainbow Steve back and gave him a username, some of him, like himself, must have merged with Rainbow Steve accidentally, only visible now because it has spread. I don't think Plague Steve realized this, so when Saber had aggressively accused him of doing something to Rainbow Steve without Plague Steve knowing in the first place, it could have offended him when Saber didn't believe him that he had no idea. It's not that Plague Steve denied knowledge. It's that he honestly didn't know about his own powers yet. He didn't think or know that Rainbow Steve was in trouble or acting differently. He thought Rainbow Steve was just grateful for him. That's why he refused to turn off the shrines. He didn't know or think that it was a problem to others, only helping himself gain his power back from him helping them. When Saber started being mean about it, Plague Steve wasn't gonna have it. So Saber was being so salty right then. It was actually kind of amusing to watch. So that's it. Plague Steve thought they were good-for-nothing beggars, asking for help, and throwing the Steve out when he's no more use to them. That's how Plague Steve started being mean, protecting himself while trying to teach them a lesson, because he did not like what they did. After a while, they had found about Elemental Steve, who destroyed those thieves who Saber thought were bad. Well, two of them technically were. And Elemental Steve did everything in the prophecy. Although he is kind, he is wise and evil. Plague Steve was never really wise or evil. He's just kind. Elemental Steve was evil. He was all three of them. He will ensure no one can leave. Elemental Steve also did when trapping them. And once your nightmare is over with, a new one will start. Ending Elemental Steve and starting Void Steve and Galaxy Steve, then Origin Steve. Turns out Void Steve was controlling them the whole time, Nightmare Steve and Elemental Steve. I'd like to thank you for watching. Comment below what you think. And I haven't been posting a lot lately because I've been busy. So, yeah. Have a good day.